One rookie just flipped the NFL on its head and they're pretending it didn't happen. No dramatic holdout. No Twitter rant. No locker room scandal. Just one contract, one clause, and suddenly the league's billion-dollar playbook? Torn to shreds. We're not talking about a record-breaking signing bonus or a flashy sponsorship. This is bigger than that. Shedeur Sanders didn't just join the NFL. He walked in like a boss and walked out with the kind of contract that shifts power away from the league and puts it back into the hands of the players. It's called the Prime Equity Clause, and if the NFL really understood what they just signed off on, they'd be terrified, because this isn't just about money, it's about ownership, it's about influence, it's about control. And what happens next could change pro sports forever. On paper, it looks like just a sentence maybe too buried deep in a rookie contract. But look a little closer, and you'll realize this isn't just a detail in Shedeur Sanders' deal. It's a threat, a challenge, a line in the sand. They're calling it the Prime Equity Clause, and it's the most disruptive thing to hit an NFL contract since the league figured out how to structure signing bonuses. So, what is it? Simple. If the NFL or any of its affiliates use Shedeur's name, image, or likeness to make money, he gets a cut. Every jersey sold, every highlight clip monetized, every appearance or streamed interview, every brand that uses his face to sell a product, it all flows back to him. Not just a check, not just a bonus. Equity. Real ownership. To be clear, this is not some boilerplate NIL clause like the ones floating around in college sports. This is structured, enforceable, revenue participation inside the NFL, where those kinds of things are very much not normal. Because the league doesn't do partnerships with players. They do tiers, they do contracts, they do structures where management calls the shots and the players cash their checks. The league makes the content and the players become content. That's the deal. Until now. Shedeur walked into his rookie negotiation with something every exec in the building didn't see coming: negotiation power. Most rookies are just happy to be there. They sign whatever gets them on the field, smile through their interviews, and let the team media department shape their image. The salary is good. The exposure is massive. You follow the blueprint, do the work, and hope for endorsement crumbs later. But Shedeur? He didn't follow the blueprint. He shredded it. He didn't walk into his rookie deal asking for opportunity. He walked in expecting ownership. While the rest of the league is still booting up their social strategy and writing scripts for post-game TikToks, Shedeur arrived with a fully functioning media empire already built. His YouTube? Monetized. His content team? Already hired. Branding? Locked in. Audience? Already millions deep. His story wasn't getting started, it was already halfway told. And now, every time the NFL uses him to drive engagement, boost ratings, or sell jerseys, he gets paid automatically. That's what the Prime Equity Clause guarantees. It flips the traditional NFL model upside down, because suddenly, the league doesn't fully own the story. They don't fully own the face. They don't fully own the star. They have to split the profits with him. Imagine that. Every jersey sold with his name? Partial revenue to Shedeur. Every viral clip where he's the thumbnail, that's Shedeur's bank account ringing. Every time an NFL ad highlights him to hype a game, that's not exposure, that's income. It's not just innovative, it's lethal to the old guard's playbook. Because now, rookies aren't just looking for salaries, they're looking for leverage. They're looking for clauses like this that say, if you use me, you pay me. And here's the thing, this didn't happen by accident. Shedeur didn't fumble his way into a revolutionary clause. He planned it. He came in knowing his worth, knowing the value of attention, and knowing exactly how the current sports economy works. Because in today's world, the most valuable thing isn't the playbook, it's the platform. The Prime Equity Clause doesn't just help him make money. It helps him change the rules entirely. For the first time maybe ever, the NFL has to deal with a rookie holding long-term financial power from day one. Not because he asked nicely, not because the team saw him as a marketing golden boy, but because he owned his name before ever stepping into the building, and he refused to give it away when the big check came around. And you just know, behind those boardroom walls, some exec is staring at that line in the contract thinking, what did we just agree to? Because now the cat's out of the bag. The clause is real, the precedent is set, and every player coming up the ranks is about to start asking why they don't have one too. To understand how wild Shedeur Sanders' contract really is, you have to understand how the NFL's entire structure is built, not for freedom, not for flexibility, for control. We're talking about one of the most coordinated, polished, and tight-gripped ecosystems in all of professional sports. And that's not by accident. See, in the NFL, the player is rarely the product. The league is the product. The shield, the brand, the institution. Players come and go, get drafted, traded, cut, retired. But what stays the same? The NFL's control over how you see them. That's why rookie contracts are set up like factory templates. Rigid, standardized, cold. You get your salary, you follow the PR script, you smile for team promos, you learn how to stand at the podium, and you say the right things at the right time in the right tone or else. The message is clear: play well, stay quiet, we'll handle the rest. And most players do exactly that, especially rookies, because for decades, that was the deal. You play the team game, let the NFL tell your story, and maybe, by your second or third contract, you earn a little spotlight and a few ad dollars on the side. Meanwhile, the league, they've used every second of your fame, from your touchdown clips to your Gatorade moments, to pump billions into their own machine. And the wild part? You don't see a dime from that. Run it back. You go viral? The NFL profits. You break a record? They sell jerseys with your name and pocket that revenue. You pull millions of viewers to a primetime slot? Congrats! The network sees that money. Not you. Because under the NFL's usual setup, you don't own your image once you walk through that door. They do. Now do you see why Shedeur's clause has execs sweating? Because he just cracked open the most guarded vault in pro football branding rights. He didn't just ask for a better deal. He didn't just want higher pay. He demanded permission to profit from his own existence. And the NFL let it happen. Maybe without fully realizing what they had just signed off on. Because with that one clause, the message flipped completely. Now the league doesn't just hire Shedeur, it owes him. Anything tied to his face, his name, his highlights, his story, if it earns, he earns. That's nuclear. It's not a contract. It's a statement. You're not going to own me. You're going to work with me. And that changes everything. Why? Because the NFL's power has always come from keeping the brand bigger than the players. That's why they find stars for custom cleats. That's why they run media training like a military drill. That's why undrafted rookies get media blackout until the league decides they've earned it. It's all about narrative control. And if you control the narrative, you control the value. Shedeur just unplugged from that system completely and brought an army of fans with him. He doesn't need the NFL to build his brand. His brand walked in the door before the ink dried on his deal. He doesn't need post-game interviews to grow his image. He's been telling his story on YouTube for years. He doesn't wait for a reporter to ask him something interesting. He turns on the camera and addresses millions directly. The NFL isn't used to that. They're used to gatekeeping access. They're used to shaping stories, spinning headlines, and making sure any problematic personality gets coached up or phased out. But now they've got a quarterback who not only controls his image, he profits from it. And worse, from the league's perspective, he's popular doing it. This isn't a guy going rogue behind the scenes. This is someone with mainstream momentum, fan trust, and digital power the league can't replicate even with their billion-dollar broadcast deals. So here's the dilemma. If more players start negotiating like this, if more rookies walk in asking for equity, media autonomy, or NIL ownership, the NFL's entire business structure, blank the content machine, the marketing funnel, the top-down power hierarchy, blank starts to crack. Because once players realize they don't need the machine to reach the fans, the machine loses control. And Shedeur? He didn't ask if the system would allow that. He walked in and said, "This is how it's going to work now." And the league said, "Okay." Shedeur Sanders didn't wait around for a rookie spotlight. He created his own. And now, the numbers behind his media empire don't just turn heads, they blow the door off the NFL's old value system. Let's break it down. His rookie contract is worth $4.66 million. A solid payday, no doubt. The kind of deal any young quarterback would be thrilled to get. But here's the shocker. Shedeur made more than triple that before his first regular season start. How? Not from performance bonuses. Not from team incentives, not even from traditional endorsements. No, Shedeur is pulling in cash from his ecosystem, from his name, from his story, from the empire he's built outside the NFL. Before he even stepped onto the field, he had already brought in $14 million. $14 million. That's off merch drops, brand partnerships, licensing deals, sponsorships tied to his likeness, independently created digital content, and personal media. You know what that means? While most rookies are figuring out how to post their first sponsored Instagram story without violating a sponsorship clause, Shedeur is over here signing six-figure brand deals that go straight to him, not filtered through teams, agents, or the league machine. It's wild enough when a player earns 14 million. It's something else entirely when he builds it, and that's exactly what he's done. Shedeur doesn't just have a social presence, he has a crew, a team of full-time editors, strategists, planners, designers, content producers. Every step of his journey is documented on his terms. His YouTube channel gets more organic engagement than most NFL teams' facts. His Instagram? Deals. Numbers. Raw traction. He's not relying on a reporter to tell his story. He's not praying ESPN runs a flattering segment. He's giving fans access directly through vlogs, mini-docs, raw footage, and behind-the-scenes drops that feel more real than anything coming out of the league offices. And fans love it. His content doesn't look corporate. It doesn't feel filtered. It feels like him. It's Gen Z's dream package. Talent meets transparency. Authenticity meets control. Access meets quality. And the results? They're insane. Let's talk jersey sales. Because this is where the NFL started coughing into their latte. Shedeur Sanders, rookie quarterback, accounted for over $250 million in jersey revenue. Let that settle for a second. $250 million. From one player. One rookie. No legacy career. No MVP awards. No Super Bowl. Just one name, one story, and one brand owned by him. Now, here's the part that makes league execs really nervous. With the prime equity clause in effect, Shedeur actually gets a piece of all of it. That's not exposure, that's ownership. The old system? If jersey sales exploded, the team profited. The league profited. The player? Maybe got honored in a post, maybe got a small bonus, that's it. But Shedeur flipped that equation. Now, merch sales equals his income. Media clips equals his income. Sponsorships that use his name equals his income. NFL social content featuring him equals his income. It's not just about stacking checks, it's about reversing flow. Under Shedeur's model, the content economy flows up from the player, not down from the league. And here's where it gets existential for the NFL. Because if Shedeur already built this before playing a single regular season snap, what happens when more rookies do the same? Today's athletes aren't just athletes. They're content creators, media personalities, community leaders, and global influencers. But for the longest time, the NFL treated all that as a side hustle. Something you were allowed to do as long as it didn't interfere with the brand. Shedeur made his voice the brand, and instead of waiting for a prime contract in year 4, he made himself a prime asset from day 1. That 14M? Just the tip of the iceberg. Because what Shedeur is really building isn't a stack of income streams, it's a system, a model, one where being talented on the field is only half the game. The other half? Owning the story, the spotlight, and the value that comes with it. And here's the part no one inside the NFL wants to say out loud. His content team produces better media than the league itself. Crisper, sharper, more human, more viral. Shedeur doesn't need an NFL Films camera crew to mic him up. He is the crew. And he's already in more people's feeds than some entire franchises. So now, with one contract clause and a modern media strategy, Shedeur has built something the NFL can't control. A self-sustaining, fan-powered brand completely independent of the league's infrastructure. And that's a bigger threat than anything that happens between the goalposts. Let's be real, NFL execs have seen it all. Freak athletes, flash-in-the-pan prodigies, egos with marketing teams. They've built entire departments just to manage talent who think they're bigger than the game. But what Shedeur Sanders is doing? They weren't ready for this. Because this time, it's not attitude, it's not drama, it's not some flashy social gimmick. It's calculated power wrapped in total control and backed by real numbers. It's a 21-year-old walking into their billion-dollar system, smiling and calmly saying, "I don't need you to build me, I built me before I got here." And that mindset is absolutely terrifying to legacy institutions like the NFL. Because it challenges more than just revenue. It challenges the culture. It breaks the unspoken rules. It flips the league's entire identity upside down. For decades, the NFL has carefully curated a top-down power structure. They market the team first, the shield first, the league first. That's why players get fined for showing too much personality. That's why celebrations got banned for years. That's why media access is filtered and scripted. The product has never been the player, it's been the package, the control. And the false sense of balance has worked. Players get paid, teams sell dreams, the league collects everything. But what happens when one player just stops asking for permission? That's what keeps the NFL suits awake at night. Because Shedeur didn't throw a tantrum. He didn't call a press conference. He didn't leak trade demands. He built leverage quietly. He walked in with leverage. He negotiated like a company, not an athlete. And here's what's even scarier, he made it look easy. No drama, no blown-up headlines, just paperwork, signed, and a slow realization spreading through every exec office on Park Avenue. If this works, we just lost control. And it is working. Sponsors call Shedeur, not the team. Content drops directly on his channels, not through the league's sanitized filters. He releases highlight reels with his own voiceovers, his own commentary, his own vision. You can feel the NFL's grip loosening, inch by inch. Because the league hates chaos. They hate uncontrolled narratives. They hate when they're not the ones controlling the camera. And Shedeur? He's broadcasting from a completely different lens, not tied to the NFL's brand guidelines. Not confined to weekly pressers or media check-ins. Not dependent on endorsement gatekeepers chosen by someone in a suit and tie. He owns the medium, he owns the message, and he speaks it fluently. That type of autonomy, it spreads. You think agents haven't taken notice? They're already rewriting rookie negotiation strategies. You think veteran players aren't texting their managers asking why they didn't get a deal like that? This is the nightmare scenario. Not because players making money is bad for business, but because players having full independence is bad for control. The old system was built on dependency. The league gave you image, gave you value, gave you reach, and in return, you gave them obedience, participation, silence when it mattered. Now, suddenly, that pipeline looks fractured. Because when a player has millions of followers, a monetized content engine, and a direct-to-fan economy, the only thing he really needs from the league is a game schedule. And let's get brutally honest, this isn't about protecting the brand. It's about preserving power, about keeping the spotlight managed, controlled, and within approved boundaries. Shedeur didn't just color outside the lines. He redrew the blueprint and copyrighted it himself. And what truly shocks NFL insiders is this. There was no fight, no holdout, no media war, no backroom rant, just straight business. He walked in, handed over a strategic demand with full confidence, and walked out with a legally binding clause. The Prime Equity Clause. Signed, approved, locked in. If you're a 50-year-old NFL exec watching this happen in real time, you're not worried about what Shedeur might say next. You're worried about what every other player just realized they could say. Because now, the Prime Equity Clause isn't just a headline, it's a precedent. It's proof that this model isn't impossible, that the system can be bent, and that the old rules only exist because no one tested them. Until now. And here's the twist that hurts the most. The NFL didn't get backed into a corner. They agreed to it. Whether they underestimated the impact or overestimated their ability to manage it, one thing is clear. The dam has a crack in it, and the water is starting to rise. Here's the thing. No one on the NFL side wants to admit. Shedeur isn't just a quarterback, he's a media brand and he speaks fluent internet. That skill set? That's the one thing even the best franchises can't replicate, and it's exactly why this moment is so much bigger than football. Because while the NFL has been busy perfecting camera angles and rolling out uniform hype posts, Shedeur has been quietly reverse engineering how culture actually moves online and using it to build influence in real time. Let's start with the basics. Gen Z and Gen Alpha don't watch networks. They don't care about ESPN exclusives or carefully scripted NFL promos. They live on Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikToks, direct stories, and community-driven content. They don't scroll for polish, they scroll for personality. And Shedeur? He gets that. He meets them exactly where they are, not with some filtered, over-designed rookie spotlight, but with raw cuts, walkthroughs, behind-the-scenes footage, late-night airport rants, gym montages, and those casual, unfiltered, mic'd-up moments that feel real. He doesn't wait for a network to clip something and hope it trends. He presses record. He makes it trend himself. And here's what's wild. His content doesn't just look better than half the NFL's media push. It performs better. Let's talk numbers. His engagement rate on Instagram doubled that of most NFL team pages. His college-era YouTube vlogs? Already pulling mid-season NFL-level views. His brand partnerships? Averaging 6- and even 7-figure campaigns without a team PR, shadow in sight. And it's not just eyeballs, it's connection. People aren't just watching him. They feel like they know him. That right there, authenticity at scale, is what the NFL has never been good at. Because for decades, they worked from the top down. They built the spotlight first, then put the players in it. They edited the sound bites. They wrote the locker room storylines. They approved the quotes, controlled the interviews, and drip-fed the clips. But that process feels artificial now. It's slow, outdated, carefully rehearsed, and completely detached from how people actually consume content today. Shedeur's not waiting on a headline, he is the headline. And better yet, he owns the camera. Literally, he owns the footage, he owns the drafts, he owns the story. That's the part that stings if you're sitting in an NFL marketing office right now. Because for the first time ever, a rookie hasn't just outperformed the system, he's competed against it and won. His off-field content gets more interaction than many post-game highlight packages. His hoodie and sunglasses walk-ins to practice trend harder than official pre-game press conferences. He'll drop a cue, a video from his hotel room, and it'll pull more young viewers than an entire Monday Night Football preview. Why? Because fans aren't buying just talent anymore. They're buying access, vulnerability, realness, consistency. And Shedeur doesn't post just to stay relevant. He posts because he's building something. Think about that. Every post, every story, every feature, it's intentional, it's architecture. Strategic brand architecture designed not just to go viral, but to build equity that he owns. And maybe that's the biggest scare for the NFL right now. Not just that he has a digital edge, but that he's using it better than they ever could. Because the league never needed to compete with players before. They were the gate, the platform, the access point. But now, Shedeur has more cultural pull than some conference championship promos, more youth engagement than dozens of NFL team accounts combined, better audience retention on his YouTube clips than major network interviews. And he hasn't even thrown a regular season touchdown yet. Let that sink in. He's winning the media game before he's even gotten to the part the league thinks matters most, the game itself. That tells you everything you need to know about today's athletes and tomorrow's playbook. It's not just about stats, it's about storytelling. It's not just about performance. It's about presence. It's not just about being on TV. It's about who controls the lens when it happens. And Shedeur? He doesn't need the NFL spotlight anymore. He brought his own. The moment Shedeur's contract leaked, the game changed. Not just for him, not just for quarterbacks, but for every young player who's been quietly asking themselves, wait, if he can get that, why can't I? Because this isn't just about a clause. It's a blueprint, an alternate path, a playbook that rejects the league's rigid systems and says, there's a better way to do this. And it starts with me. And now, every rookie, every college star, every overlooked third-round wide receiver with an audience on TikTok is watching. Maybe they don't have Shedeur's hype. Maybe they don't have the merch traction yet. But they all have the same realization burning in their minds. I don't have to give it all away just to get in. And that quietly, powerfully, is becoming a movement. The old path looked like this. Get drafted. Smile on stage. Sign your rights away. Join the system. Hope it works out. Shedeur's version? Walk in already built. Negotiate from leverage. Own your media. Own your image. Keep your equity. And here's the part that hits harder than any stat line. There was nothing stopping him from doing this except tradition. That's the only thing holding most rookies hostage. Not ability, not intelligence, not even the league office. Just a deep-rooted belief that this is how it's always been done. But now, that illusion shattered the second the prime equity clause hit the internet. And the copycats? They've already begun. Agents are restructuring rookie asks. College players are thinking differently about endorsements. Media teams are being hired before the draft. Brand equity is no longer a veteran thing. It's a day-one expectation. We're entering an era where high school athletes have vlog series and logo packages before choosing a college, where a defensive back can grow a 500K follower platform on Instagram before ever starting a pro snap and expect a seat at the business table because of that. All because one rookie stopped playing the game like it couldn't be changed. He knew his value. He refused to trade his likeness for a signing bonus. And the league caught off guard let it happen. Now, everyone knows that door is real and unlocked. Make no mistake, the NFL isn't celebrating this quiet revolution. Publicly, sure, they'll say it's exciting to see young players embrace entrepreneurship or control their narrative. But behind closed doors, they're on alert. Because the entire league depends on rookie compliance. If first-rounders start asking for prime equity clauses, if second-round picks demand NIL ownership, if undrafted gems show up with dedicated brand teams in tow, suddenly the balance of power dissolves. The entire old-school model where rookies come in grateful, obedient, and completely owned by the system becomes obsolete. And here's why the panic is real. This isn't a union fight. It's not a slow CBA process or some labor protest. There are no lawsuits, no player strikes, no picket signs. It's happening quietly, strategically, and legally, one contract at a time. And that's the most dangerous kind of revolution. Because it doesn't scream. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't even ask for permission. It just walks in and changes the standard permanently. Before this, the NFL's hold-on player branding was treated like gravity. Unbreakable, invisible, just part of the deal. But now, that gravitational pull is weakening fast, because once value stops flowing from the league down to the players and starts flowing up from the players themselves, the whole map changes. Teams don't just need to scout talent anymore, they need to scout influence. They don't just need to offer contracts, they need to offer partnerships. They don't just get a player, they get a platform. And if they can't handle that, the player leaves, still winning. Because when you control your voice, your digital real estate, your NIL income, and your fan community, you don't need to belong to the league. The league needs to belong to you. That's the shift. If you're a rookie headed into next season, Shedeur's model isn't a dream anymore. It's a blueprint. The question now isn't, will others follow? It's, how fast can they catch up? You can feel it now. That undercurrent running through the league. A shift. A quiet tension swelling beneath the surface of press conferences and practice fields. Because somewhere deep inside NFL headquarters, they know what's coming. And it's already too late to stop it. The power that used to flow one way from the league to the team to the player at the bottom of the pyramid is now starting to flow up. From the player's phone, from the player's audience, from the player's brand. The entire foundation of the shield comes first is cracking. And the prime equity clause? That wasn't a warning shot. That was the seismic event. For decades, the NFL has built itself like an empire. A fortress, top-down control, centralized PR. Every narrative manicured, every headline cleaned up, every rookie dropped into the perfect team-friendly storyline. But Shedeur? He walked up to that fortress, kicked the door wide open, and didn't ask to enter. He brought his own building. He didn't walk in to be scouted, molded, or rebranded. He walked in with leverage, a fan base, a monetized narrative, and told the league, "You're not here to build me, you're here to plug into what I've already built." And let's be crystal clear, this was never about just getting more money. It's about shifting the source of power. In the old model, the NFL was the influencer. The league created superstars, dictated how personality fit into branding, and used every ounce of player energy to boost buy-ins, touchdown reels, and halftime sponsors. You weren't just a rookie. You were a commercial. You wore the product, said the lines, delivered the content. The NFL turned its players into assets, not owners. But the moment Shedeur's clause was signed, the equation flipped. Because now, the league doesn't just use him for value. It owes him value every time his likeness shows up. He's not just earning revenue, he's redefining how value is measured inside the entire business model. Suddenly, influence doesn't flow down from the league's marketing arm. It flows out from the players themselves. And that starts to change everything. Look at the quiet reactions building behind the scenes. College stars are delaying agent deals to bring in branding lawyers. Veteran receivers are holding private meetings with team execs. Can this clause happen for me too? High school recruits are putting NIL structure above done weight rooms. And teams, they're getting nervous. Because the old blueprint, flash the contract, control the face, flip the footage into dollars, doesn't hold when the player signs a deal that keeps the footage in his own hands. This isn't an uprising. It's a reorganization. And the league can feel it slipping. They can see the writing on the wall players with full-scale media teams, jerseys selling faster than team gear, fan bases growing outside the stadium. And the scariest part? There's no rulebook for how to stop it. The courts can't shut it down. The contracts are legal. The fans are cheering it on. And the culture is demanding more. The sports landscape has already shifted in places like the NBA, where players like LeBron and KD run production companies and documentaries with full brand equity. In soccer, Ronaldo is his own global brand, generating more revenue from his platforms than some official league sponsorships do. And now, that formula exists in the NFL. Shedeur didn't borrow influence from the NFL. He exported a playbook from those other sports, brought it into the most rigid organization in US athletics, and made it work without resistance. So here we are. The shield? It's no longer impenetrable. The power structure? Decentralizing. The flow of influence? No longer managed by suits in a boardroom, but by players at the front lines, pressing upload on their next brand drop. Whether the league is ready or not, it just became a part of Shedeur Sanders' brand instead of the other way around. And that simple reversal, that one shift in who serves who, that's what keeps execs sweating. They're not just thinking, what do we do about Shedeur? They're wondering, what happens when this becomes the norm? Because once the curtain lifts, you can't put the system back in the box. The league is standing at the edge of a cliff. And right now, they've only got two ways forward. Option A, adapt. Option B, push back. Both come with risks, but only one ends with survival. Let's break this down. Option A, adapt. The NFL swallows the pride, opens the doors, starts allowing more media freedom, more equity clauses, more customizable contracts. They stop treating player branding like a sideline gig and start partnering with it directly. Sounds good, right? But here's the problem. If they do that, they give up control. Control over image, control over narrative, control over the structured machine they've curated since the beginning of time. Suddenly, the NFL is no longer the center of the football universe. It becomes a platform, one of many. And once the players start acting like entrepreneurs, creators, CEOs, the league becomes just one partner in the conversation, not the storyteller, not the gatekeeper, not the face. That's a hard pill for the most powerful sports organization in America to swallow. Because for generations, the league hasn't just sold football. It's sold the illusion of control. But let that go? Now you've got rookies entering the combine with million-dollar channels and brand clauses ready before they even shake hands with the media team. And you know what? That world, it's not hypothetical anymore. Shedeur proved it's possible. Not just possible, profitable. He showed you can walk into the league owning your story, keeping your image, and playing by your rules and still win. The fans buy it, the brands believe in it, the numbers back it up. So what does that leave the NFL to do? Here's option B. Option B. Push back. Shut it down. Reinforce the walls. Tighten rookie media clauses. Restrict NIL ownership. Close the door on clauses like Shedeur's. Maybe even develop internal guidelines to prevent teams from negotiating outside the approved structure. The old school strong arm approach. They can try to reassert authority, try to put the toothpaste back in the tube, try to write Shedeur off as an outlier or an exception they won't repeat. But here's the brutal truth. It won't work, because they're dealing with a cultural shift, not a contract glitch. Try to shut it down, and all it does is reinforce what fans and players already suspect, that the NFL doesn't want innovation, they want obedience. Go too far, and suddenly you're the villain in every narrative. You're the system blocking players from ownership. You're the institution that profits off likenesses while denying creators the right to tell their story. And in today's hyper-transparent, hyper-connected world, that's brand suicide. Because fans, especially younger ones, they won't stand for it. They've grown up watching athletes on YouTube, not just ESPN. They trust the direct camera more than any press conference. They want the real story, and they don't care if the league prefers the polished one. Clamp down, and you lose trust. You lose creators. Eventually, you lose relevance. Just ask any legacy media company who ignored the influencer wave until it was too late. Ask Blockbuster how pretending disruption wasn't happening worked out. You think the NFL's untouchable. So did the music industry at one point. So did cable companies before streaming took off. Now, every player with a camera team and a content strategy is a ticking time bomb ready to rewrite the deal the second they hit the radar. Because Shedeur didn't kick off a moment, he kicked off a movement, and it's not going away. So here the NFL stands. On one side, adaptation and the terrifying loss of old-school control. On the other, resistance and the slow death of cultural relevance. And here's the irony. It shouldn't feel like a threat. It should feel like evolution. The chance to co-create with players, instead of just using them. The chance to tell better stories, instead of just approving them. The chance to become more human, more modern, and more trusted than ever before. But for that to happen, the league has to make the one move it's never been comfortable with: letting go. Here's the wildest part of all this, and of tame. Shedeur didn't just stumble into a revolutionary contract. He didn't ride a hype wave and accidentally break the system. He's not reacting, he's been orchestrating this from the start. Because once you zoom out, you realize this wasn't a moment, it was a long game. Every move, every piece of this puzzle, it's been layered, deliberate, structured. This isn't the story of a rookie getting lucky. It's the story of a player who outplayed the league before ever stepping onto an NFL field. Let's rewind. While other athletes were grinding in silence, tossing out vague tweets about hustle, Shedeur was producing, filming, documenting, narrating his own story in real time. Mini docs, training vlogs, game prep montages, family business meetings, all of it carefully designed to serve three things: audience, ownership, brand equity. Not flashy, not accidental. Just media discipline disguised as content. He didn't wait until he made it to build his brand. He built as he rose, so that when the lights hit, the foundation was already rock solid. By the time the NFL came calling, he didn't need to ask for respect, the numbers had already earned it. The followers, the reach, the engagement, the control. Draft or no draft, league or no league, the Shedeur brand could stand on its own. So when contract talks began, he didn't come with empty hands hoping for terms. He came with leverage and a blueprint. The prime equity clause wasn't a lucky negotiation. It was step one in a master plan that's been years in the making. And when he dropped that clause on the table, he didn't blink. No media leaks, no messy holdout, no controversy. Just a quiet, confident, this is how it's going to work. And the league said yes. In that moment, the NFL, the most structured, controlling, by-the-book professional league in the world, agreed to let a 21-year-old decide the terms of his influence. That isn't just power. That's dominance wrapped in calm. And the execs? The agents? The veterans looking around like, how the hell did this happen? They missed the point. It didn't just happen. It was built. This is what it looks like when a player understands that the future of sports isn't just physical, it's digital, personal, direct. Shedeur didn't train for 9 months to throw spirals and hope the cameras showed up. He trained for 10 years to be a brand you couldn't ignore and, more importantly, couldn't control. The NFL has spent decades perfecting how to manufacture stars. But now, they're facing something they never prepared for. A star who doesn't need their machine at all. He doesn't go through their channels. He is the channel. Every clip, every quote, every jersey, every post, no middlemen, no filters, no corporate translator, just direct signal, straight from the source. His voice, his platform, his audience, and that's what makes this moment so dangerous and so iconic. Because Shedeur isn't out for flash. He's out for legacy. He's not playing the same 10-year career game. He's playing the 50-year brand game. He's thinking about post-football media, ownership, documentary deals, licensing rights, production companies, things the average rookie isn't even allowed to dream about because their contracts box them into silence and PR-approved personality. But Shedeur's clause shattered that wall. Now, he's free. Not just to move, but to build. Loudly, publicly, authentically. And that scares the league more than any touchdown ever will. Because for the longest time, they had one unstoppable strategy. Control the story, control the narrative, and you control the player. Control the player, and you control the brand. Control the brand, and you control the audience. But they never expected this. A player who already owned the story before they ever got a chance to shape it. Now the clock's ticking. Because if you're a future rookie watching this play out, what are you really learning? You're not just seeing a quarterback succeed. You're seeing how freedom becomes leverage. You're watching a player walk into the most powerful league in America and say, "This is how it's going to go," and then actually make it happen. This was never just about a contract. It was never about one signature, one bold clause, or one player making a power move. This was the spark. The moment the NFL's invisible walls got lit from the inside, not with fire, but with something the system feared even more: freedom. Because what Shedeur Sanders just pulled off isn't a deal. It's a detonation. A slow, calculated burn that's about to reshape the most powerful sports league in America from inside its own rulebook. You're not just watching a rising star. You're witnessing a structural shift, and the league knows it. They won't say it publicly. But if you've been paying attention, you can feel the panic. Somewhere on Park Avenue, there's a group of suits huddled around a whiteboard labeled Player Autonomy Risk Matrix. They're running simulations, contingency models, trying to figure out how in the hell they just got outmaneuvered by a rookie with a YouTube channel, a media team, and a vision the league didn't see coming. And here's the part they can't change. The damage is done. The contract is signed. The clause is real. The numbers are public. The audience is watching. And the blueprint is circulating. Because this isn't just about Shedeur anymore. It's about what happens next. What happens when the next top wide receiver walks in and asks for the Shedeur clause? What happens when a college junior with 2 million TikTok followers says, "I'd rather own my image than borrow your brand"? What happens when a defensive lineman who went viral on a podcast decides he wants editorial rights over every broadcast that features his story? At what point do rookies stop asking for control and start expecting it? At what point does player empowerment become policy, not exception? That's the countdown the league now faces, ticking louder with every new contract negotiation. Every merch drop outside official NFL stores. Every player-led documentary that skips the corporate pipeline. Every brand partnership closed without league approval. Every viral clip posted directly to a player's personal media channel before NFL Films can even react. The balance is shifting and the league can't turn back the clock because this isn't about money anymore. It's about infrastructure. It's about who controls the light. For decades, the NFL built a world where the league owned the spotlight and the players just stood in it. Now, the light moves with the player. And Shedeur Sanders, he's proof of that. He didn't just disrupt the narrative, he rewrote it. Not with a scandal, not with a protest. No screaming, no fighting. Just quiet strength, strategic moves, and a belief that he didn't need the league to define him because he had already defined himself. So what now? What happens when the stars of the show start asking for equal ownership of the theater? What happens when the product starts asking why the packaging gets all the profit? What happens when a player, without ever taking a regular season snap, becomes more powerful than the teams trying to draft him? You're already watching the answer unfold, in real time, view by view, clause by clause. Shedeur Sanders just broke the old NFL. And now, every player behind him is walking through a door that used to be locked for good. So if you're the league, you have a choice. Adapt, or get buried by the players who now understand they don't need you to go big. They can build big on their own. The copycats are coming. The future is loud, personal, decentralized. The voices aren't waiting for permission anymore. They're monetized, mobilized, and building enterprises before they're even drafted. That's not a theory. That's the world Shedeur just made real. And the countdown? Already hit 0. This isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of everything.